طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we continue in the explanation of this tremendous treatise entitled Buloogh, al-Maraam, attending the objective by the great Imam Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, the one who died 856 after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Where the time now is currently 5:51 p.m. Today's date, in accordance with the Gregorian calendar, Saturday, October the 14th, 2023, of the non-Muslim date or the non-Muslim calendar. But today, inshallah, is the 29th of Rabi' al-Awwal, even though I put the date in, excuse me everyone, the 30th. But technically it's the 29th of Rabi' al-Awwal, Saturday evening, where the year is 1445 after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. We were discussing the affairs connected to what one can see before marriage, of what one can see, what can be revealed before marriage. And we talked about that these matters are connected with marital engagements. So the affairs of marital engagements take place, of course, when the families are involved and when one embark upon marriage and discussing it with the proper people, such as starting, if it's within a Muslim country, usually in most cases the man would communicate with those who are in charge of the female. And we know that the asl, of course, of every female is her father. Her Muslim father is the one who's in charge of her affairs. Then that is the origin of everything. As we know, the proper way to conduct the matters of marriage is that men have to be involved. Because men being involved, as we know, brothers and sisters, they can see through the games and the tricks and the fast talking of other men. Because usually we know that females are subjected where, especially if they like a certain male, and if she likes what he's saying, then she can be somewhat persuaded. She could be persuaded by someone that is not good for her. And you'll find, as we know, females likewise can see through the nonsense of other females. That's the reason why even when women are involved, especially with newly introduced females within the family, we usually know that mothers and females in general can see through the nonsense of other females. Just like men can see through the nonsense of other men. That's the reason why men are supposed to be involved in these matters. And like we said, the affair starts with the father, as the father is the one who's in charge over his daughter. And if a man truly wants to go about the halal way, or the permissible, lawful, pleasing way to Allah in order to engage to a woman, then of course he would communicate that matter with the father. And then if the father is not there, then she would talk to the brothers from the father's side, or from the mother and father side, from the immediate parents, of course, the brothers that are from that family. The brothers, then the man would communicate with them. And if there isn't any Muslim brothers around, then of course her paternal, not maternal, paternal uncle. If he's Muslim, then likewise he would investigate and step in and be responsible and in charge for those affairs. So those marital engagements start with these matters. It has to be communicated with the men, as the men are in charge over the women to protect them. And that's part of the duty of men. Men are supposed to protect women, and protect our families, and protect our immediate families from our mothers, our daughters, our aunts, our grandmothers, to the end. So now you'll find, as we said, once a man indulges and partakes in that marital engagement, then, like we talked about last class, that usually in order to cut the time, to save everyone time, if a man embarks upon marriage to a certain female, then of course, if he hasn't seen her, then he would say to the father, well, I'm looking for a sister, particularly around this height or color or what have you. And then the man would think in his mind, okay, that suits, or that sounds like the characteristics of my daughter or what have you. Okay. Then if we see, of course, the man also has the prerequisites of religion and uprightness, and those matters have been fulfilled, and he embarks upon the qualities of the female that he's looking for as far as in looks, then the man or the father would say, okay, let's sit. But the matters, as we'll talk about within this chapter, everyone, is that if one comes to you and you're pleased with his religion, then we should facilitate for him and her the affairs of marriage. And that is a command from the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, as we'll cover, that this narration will come, where the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, said on authentic hadith, إِذَا إِنْ جَاءَكُمْ رَجُلٌ إِنْ أَتَاكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ بِدِينِهِ وَخُلُقِهِ أَنَا آمُرُكُمْ أَنْ تُزَوِّجُوهُ فإن لم تفعلوا تكن فتنة في الأرض وفساد كبير وفي رواية فساد عريض. There's a narration of the Prophet ﷺ that he said, if a man comes to you and you're pleased with his religion and his character, if you're pleased with his religion and his character, I command you to marry him off. This is what the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said. أنا آمركم أن تزوجوه. أنا آمركم أن تزوجوه. فإن لم تفعلوا تكن فتنة في الأرض وفساد كبير. He said, I command you to marry him. And if you do not do so, there will be trials and tribulations in the earth and widespread corruption. There will be trials and tribulations in the earth and widespread corruption. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, these are affairs that if an individual comes to us, meaning, of course, the males, the men who are in charge of the females and protectors of them, someone embarks upon marital engagement and you are pleased with his character, pleased with his religion, then one should marry him off. The Messenger of Allah made it clear. And we see, as a result of opposing the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah, how much corruption has taken place and is still taking place within the earth due to disobedience of his instructions, alayhi salatu wasalam. So, now someone comes to you, you are pleased with his religion, you are pleased with his character, you are pleased with all these matters. Now you enable him, like we said, to now allow him to see your daughter. And this is an addressment not just to the fathers, but all the awliya, those who are in charge of our sisters and our mothers and our aunts and our daughters and our grandmothers. All of us as men are responsible and in charge for their affairs, if we're Muslim, of course. And like we mentioned, if one is not Muslim, where they don't have those who are in charge from their family or immediate family that aren't Muslim, then of course we know the affairs are referred to those Marakis Islamiyah or Masjid Islamiyah, those Islamic masajid or those Islamic centers, which they handle the affairs, which they are called wukala or wakil. Not wali, they're wakil. Wakil is an entrusted matter to the females, even though he's not part of her family or her blood relatives, or her blood immediate family, rather. Like, we talked about how the matters in which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ clearly taught us how to conduct, where the matters can be in a copacetic, comfortable way. We already covered the hadith, or rather we mentioned it. We're going to mention others. But the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, and this is the hadith we've been explaining, إِذَا خَطَبَ أَحْدُكُمُ الْمَرْأَةِ فَإِنِ اسْتَطَاعَ أَنْ يَنْظُرَ إِلَى مَا يَدْعُوهُ إِلَى نِكَاحِهَا فَلْيَفْعَلْ. If one of you, of course, embark upon a marital engagement with a female, if one of you are able to look what will call you to marry her, let him do so. We also we mentioned the narration similar to what the Messenger of Allah said in this one, but with different wording. That the Messenger of Allah said, إِذَا أَلْقَى فِي قَلْبِ امْرِئٍ خِطْبَةً الْمَرْأَةِ فَإِسْتَطَاعَ أَنْ يَنْظُرَ إِلَيْهَا فَلْيَنْظُرْ إِلَيْهَا. That the Messenger of Allah, another narration that we'll cover, where he said, if Allah cast in the heart of one of you to marry a female. And this is to let one know that the matters of marriage is something that's also part of the preordainment and divine decree. That how many people embark upon marriage and they see someone and other people might think that they're beautiful and you might think, well, I don't think that's for me. So the affairs are all tied in with the heart of what one prefers and what one likes. And those matters are all based upon, of course, we know with people when they are linked. Usually in certain cases you'll find you might expect one thing, but the outcome might be different. How many times we've experienced this? Two people we might have sat down and you would think, oh, they seem like they're compatible. And then you find out that they're apples and oranges. All these things happen within life. And then how many people you think, oh, I don't think that's going to happen, but let's try it anyway. And then you try and you find that they are truly compatible. And you'll find that throughout conversation, they seem like they actually are compatible with one another. So these matters are all, like we said, based upon the proper ways where the men are involved. And then, of course, one sits. And like we said, one might think that, oh, she's not too beautiful in her appearance. And then the man sees her and thinks that that's somebody who I really like. I truly like physically. Like we said, all those matters depend on everyone's look or everyone's preference, rather. And everyone, like we said, are different. And you do not know whose type of chemistry might actually coincide with one another until they are actually have the opportunity to have a blissful, nice marriage. And like we said, these matters, if they're conducted properly, then like we said, the outcome, inshallah, will be good. So, we were talking about the matters of what can be seen. Based upon of some of the benefits we'll talk about from this hadith, we'll mention that in a minute. However, the first thing we said last class, that it is permissible for the male to see the female, to look at her face. And likewise, similar to that, at the time before marriage is permissible. It is permissible for a female to look at a man at the time of marriage to see if that's someone that is physically to their liking. If that's someone that's physically to their liking, because we need to know these matters, because one wants to fulfill everyone's rights, and one does not want to now struggle with fulfilling an individual's rights based upon attraction. Like everyone wants to get into the marriage and be able to fulfill each other's rights, whether it be the male towards the man and the man towards the female. So those matters aid, of which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ mentioned this narration, aids to facilitate for one to be happy and for a man to fulfill his wife's rights as far as attraction, and the female to fulfill her husband's rights as far as in her attraction towards him. You'll find that the great Imam Sheikh Salih Fawzani said about this. He said, فَإِذَا أَرَادَ الْإِنسَانُ أَن يَتَزَوْجَ امْرَأَةً وَرَغِبَ فِيهَا سَوَاءً خَطَبَهَا أَوْ لَمْ يَخْطُبْهَا فَإِنَّهُ يُسْتَحَبُّ لَهُ يَنْظُرَ إِلَيْهَا. He said that a man, if he wants to marry a female or a sister, and he's interested in that, whether he truly wants to become marital or engage with her in the marriage or not, he might change his mind and say no, then it is highly recommended that he look to her. In the midst of all this, the last class, everyone, we spoke about how it's binding upon all of us as individuals to accept rejection. And that's part of life. So if a man looks to you, and similar to the female, if he looks to a man, then it's binding upon us to make a decision. And if you feel that that person is not for you because you do not, or their appearance is not appealing to you, or it's not to your liking or to your preference, then you just kindly decline. And you do not have to disclose why. You just merely say to the wali, or you just merely say to the wakil that I kindly decline. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him success, or may Allah grant her success. And these, brothers and sisters, this is something that is binding upon us, for all of us as human beings, not just male and female, human beings in general, to realize that rejection is part of life. Rejection is part of life. There's nothing wrong with someone declining when you gave them an offer. There's nothing wrong with that. Whether it be a job, whether it be in marriage, whether it be in sales transactions, everybody has the choice to either accept or reject. That's just part of life. And these are matters that we have to learn to accept. And we should not become emotional or upset if one declines. And if they do it respectfully, then by all means, we should accept it. And we should not have an attitude or have something in our chest or have something of some type of aversion towards that person where you dislike them now. All these matters is surpassing the bounds. Rejection, like we said, is part of life, and we have to accept it. And that's in all levels, in all social levels of life, whether it be in business transactions. People are going to either accept or reject. In marriage, people are either going to accept or reject. In jobs, people are either going to hire you or they're going to decline and say, no, thank you. We decided not to hire you. These are all part of life that we have to learn how to accept. And this is part of life. And it does not make you a bad person, nor does it make you a person who's not pleasing in your appearance because that person didn't accept how you looked. It doesn't take anything away from yourself. There's people out there that, of course, that people might think that they're beautiful, and someone might came and said, you know what, even though she's beautiful, she's not for me. And similar to that, how many men out there have status? You would think that they have money and status, and then the woman declines. It says, I kindly declined the offer. May Allah grant him success. And the person would say, why? And it's just, that person is just not for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just part of life. And these are the things that we need to accept so we can have a stable life and just realize that rejection is part of it. Like, so the thing, like we said, once the person looks to you, then they're either going to decide. Of course, we already discussed the matters of pertaining to the woman having her face veiled. And all the ulama unanimously agrees that it's permissible for the man to see the woman's face. Whether those from Ahl-Ilm say that a man can see more than her face and hands or not. Both sides all agree that a man at the time within or before the marriage, while during a marital engagement where they're sitting with each other, and the man was to see her, that the man can see her face and hands. That's agreed upon. There's nothing wrong with a man seeing your face or your hands. So those are the matters that are agreed upon, even though we'll bring other narrations where the Sahaba were allowed to see more than the face and hands in certain narrations. And when we have the authentic ones, we'll bring it inshallah. That you'll find that some of the ashab or the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu was allowed to see more than the face and hands in certain situations, of course, where the female wasn't realizing what he was looking at, as long as she was in a presentable manner, of a regular clothes within our house, where it was more, of course, presentable. So those matters we'll talk about, like we said, in time. But we mentioned from last class about these matters. After we mentioned of what was permissible and what was in agreement of both sides of the scholars, that all of them say that the man can see the woman's face and hands. That's an agreement. And we said that in regards to our sisters, that the man, you see him in his face. And just like us as human beings in general, sisters usually, whether or not you're attracted to a man immediately if you look at him for about 30 seconds. You know whether or not that's someone physically that I would particularly be interested in. Similar to that, it should be reciprocated by the man. The man should be allowed to look at, and then a female might say, or the sister might say, well, I don't know him. I'm shy. And of course, we know from the natural disposition of a female is that she is shy. That is her natural inclination if it hasn't been distorted by the Western society. If it hasn't been corrupted or distorted by Western morals, then you'll find that the innate nature of a female is that she's shy, as long as it has not been corrupted by Western society and Western type eccentric or Eurocentric morals and character. But if she hasn't been affected by that type of Western lifestyle, then you'll find that the innate disposition of a female is that she's shy. Like we mentioned, if the affair in the first sit down where she says, well, I'm shy, I'll just let me become comfortable with him to see if we have some type of general compatibility and that we can speak to one another and communicate on different levels, whether it be, of course, religiously, and we have some type of cohesiveness between ourselves in conversation. Okay, fine. I know as a father, and my daughter said that to me, I would say fine. You said, if I see that we have some type of general compatibility and cohesion, then the next sit down, I'll let them see my face. Okay. But let us know that, and of course, everyone, that if you see the male, of course, in his face and his physical, then it is similar likewise that once you become in a manner that, of course, you feel comfortable, then you should let him see your face. And we should now try to save all the parties' time, whether it be the male time, the wakil, the masjid's time, and everybody's time, the male, yourself, by letting one know from the beginning that is this what you like? Because everyone wants to save time for themselves. Is this what you like? Do you like what you see? And we don't have to say it in front of the face of the person. Or after the conclusion of the sit down, the man could just come to the father and say, you know what, I kindly decline. Or the woman could come to her father and say, oh, my Ebby, he seems like a good brother, but I kindly decline. And you don't have to disclose it. Say, well, he's ugly or she's ugly. Like we said, we're Muslim. We don't have to say these things. What's already understood does not have to be said. What's already understood does not have to be said. And these are things and type of morals and characters we have to start learning amongst women and men. What's understood does not have to be said. A person can say, and you will find and understand what they're trying to say in these particular instances, and at the same time preserving the feelings of the people. So those are the things like we mentioned and said. The woman can say to her father or to the wakil, he seems like a good brother, but I kindly decline. And similar to that, the brother will say to the wakil or to the wali, she seems like a good sister, but I kindly decline. And you do not have to say she's ugly, or the female doesn't have to say, well, he's ugly, or I don't like the way he look, he seems like a bum. You don't have to talk like that. You just kindly say, he's not for me, and I kindly decline. May Allah give him tawfiq to find who he's looking for. Right, so let's keep going. This is, brothers and sisters, these matters, which is what you call having class. And these are the things that we are lacking these days. People don't have class. We need to get to the affairs of when we used to have class and be strategic and on certain affairs of being savvy and having class with one another. The type of society we live in now is just gutter type of speaking, gut way of speaking and dealings. And all these affairs go against our religion. And it goes against Islam, it goes against Salafiyah, and it goes against the natural inclination of just good, standard, upright morality and character. And these are the things that we have to maintain in order for us to maintain our relationships within society, where we're building strong infrastructures, especially affairs pertaining to the social aspect of our communities. But you'll find that we also mentioned, especially by the great Imam Sheikh Salih Fawzan, that he mentions about this, that the person who does not see, or the affairs are not clear as far as in regards to marriage, where he does not see what he needs to see, and likewise her, The female doesn't see what she needs to see. That the people, that from the hikmah of why the Messenger of Allah allowed these matters to be conducted like this, he says, لِأَنْ لَا يَكُنْ جَاهِلًا بِهَا فَيَتَرَتَّبُ عَلَى هَذَا فِيمَا بَعْدْ سُوءُ الْعِشْرَةِ أو عَدَمُ الْوِفَاقِ. That if a person, in order for him and her to be protected, and that they're not ignorant of what they're getting in the marriage. And what will come as a result of it is bad dealings within the marriage and not having cohesiveness between each other. And as for if the man looks at her and he knows what he's getting, then in that instance, of course, it will be more of a matter or more of a means to bring cohesiveness between them, and it will remove the affair of gharar, of not knowing what they're getting and being upon clarity in regards to what him and her are getting into within the marriage. So everyone can be enlightened and everyone knows clearly what they're getting and they can make a decision. And we'll talk about the matters of khula' in regards to certain matters that are hidden, that they should have been what? They should have been disclosed before the marriage. Those things are going to come, inshallah. Like, for example, a person gets married and they find out it's something that they did not know in regards to basically physical ailments or affairs pertaining to spendings that was not disclosed. It wasn't known. The person had hidden it from the individual where they wasn't upon clarity in regards to it. All those matters we'll talk about in due time. Also, we have the narration of the Prophet ﷺ where he said, alayhi salatu wassalam, إِنَّهُ أَحْرَى أَن يُؤْدَمَ بَيْنَكُمَا. That the matter of looking towards the one who you're engaged towards in marriage, that it is more deserving, that it will bring harmony between both of you. It will be a means in order to bring harmony between both of you. أَحْرَى أَن يُؤْدَمَ بَيْنَكُمَا. And yu'dam, the word yu'dam in the Arabic language, meaning wifaq, harmony, an agreement and cohesiveness between you will happen. بأنك تأخذها وأنت تعرفها تعرف جمالها ودمامتها تعرف خصوبة بدنها أو نحالته. He says you'll find that based upon when you see her, you will know what you're getting and you know exactly what it is as far as her beauty, as far as, of course, damamataha, whether or not her appearance is suitable for you, and similar to likewise vice versa, the male being suitable for her. And, of course, the fertility of her body, whether it be, of course, to the liking of what the person needs, a size, whether it be she be skinny or what have you, or the different sizes. So based upon that, you'll find, like we said, this is all from our religion. That from our religion is that it allows one to be human. And these are the matters and the times where you should be clear. These are not the times where one should not, or where rather one should be totally shy. When we should be shy is when we're doing something haram. When we're doing something halal for Allah in order to now establish a family, then everybody needs to be clear on what they're getting. Asking questions and everyone being straight and frank. And like we said, even though one is blunt, they don't have to be ignorant. But no doubt one should, in these times, should now show exactly who they are. Like, this is me, this is my character, this is what I look like. Because, like we said, these matters need to be clear before one embarks upon marriage itself. And before the actual marriage contract is made. So you'll find, like we said, فَهَذَا دَلِيلٌ عَلَىٰ أَنَّ النَّظَرَ إِلَى الْمَخْطُوبَةِ أَمْرٌ لَا بَأْسَ بِهِ بَلْ هُوَ مُسْتَحَبٌّ. You'll find that this is an evidence in this narration of our Prophet ﷺ, that looking to the woman who you engage in marriage towards, there is no problem to look at her. And it's a matter that's highly recommended. And like we said, one can look at her face and hands. And like we talked about, when the time comes, I'm going to bring the narrations where some of the Sahaba seen more than the face and hands. We'll talk about that. But what's agreed upon between both sides is that a man can see a woman's face and hands and know her beauty. And like we said, her hands in those regards, to see whether or not that type of size or what have you is something suitable for one's liking in order to fulfill the rights of the sister. In order to fulfill the rights of the sister, and likewise to fulfill the rights of the spouse, as far as in the physical appearance. فيكتفي بالنظر إلى هذين الموضعين ولا يزيد على ذلك. And like we talked about, we'll speak in regards to the little bit more details of what could be seen just more than the face and the hands, where there are narrations that are brought in that particular instance, especially with the Sahabi who hid, and the father allowed him to see his daughter while she didn't realize it, but she was presentable. Not in a manner that she was not presentable, but she was presentable. And he was able to see more than the face and the hands, where he saw her actual hair, and how she dressed around the house, of course, in something presentable. Those matters we'll talk about, like we said, in a minute. However, you'll find that in regards to certain affairs of where the man is not involved, or the male is not involved, or the father is not involved, or the maharim, or those who protect the female is not involved, these are the matters that is impermissible, in which we are trying to minimize within our communities. Because we're trying to allow a family structure to be established upon something that pleases Allah. Because a lot of the relationships within our communities, it starts in a manner that's displeasing to Allah. You'll find that the marriage usually starts with premarital relationships, where things have been done that really causes a major detriment, and it causes a major impact upon the relationship, based upon the fact that the marriage or the relationship started upon a matter that was displeasing to Allah. So you'll find ويكون ذلك بحضر وليها أن يتخبأ لها في مكان لا تدري عنه وينظر إليها كما فعل جابر أما أن يخلو بها فهذا أمر محرم. You'll find, like we said, everyone, in regards to one of the narrations that Jabir ibn Abdullah, that he had hid behind a particular place. And you'll find that the father or the family allowed to see the female without her realizing it. But she was wearing, of course, something presentable, as it comes in the hadith of Jabir. Like we said, we'll talk about